In the late 1800s, these British soldiers are trying to escape the undead army chasing them. What their eyes fell upon, however, was destruction on a grand scale. The city was a good 20 to 30 miles away, but fires were burning brightly. The houses and farms in the surrounding area were also burning. The tide of war had changed, as the general said, but it had turned against them. The general's legs gave way, and he would have collapsed had it not been for Colonel Kiesel. The horror on everyone's faces summed up the Austro-Hungarian plight. This all-consuming enemy was now overrunning their capital. The train slowly came to a grinding halt. Scouts were sent from the front and rear to check the surrounding woods. Some Austrians started to climb down from the carriages, almost falling to the side of the tracks. Soldiers laid their rifles on the ground and sat on the grass next to the tracks or even on the railway lines. The air was one of abandonment. All hope had drained out of them. The British engineers tried to appease their Austrian counterparts. They pointed out, in the little German they knew, that their armies may be massing elsewhere. The truth was summed up by the look in Captain Hayward's eyes as he left his compartment. He walked down the steps from an armored car and made his way over to the general's train. There, sitting nearby, was the general. He had found himself an old fallen tree and was using it as his bench. The captain was unsure of his age. He originally thought around the early 50s, but as the afternoon sun fell upon his face, he looked older. The life had drained out of his skin. He no longer had character in his expression. His shirt was untucked and his hair ruffled, as if he had repeatedly gone over a plan by rubbing his head. He went and sat next to the general. They did not say anything at first. They just sat there thinking. "My country is finished," the general sighed. Captain Charles Hayward looked him in the eye. "General, I do fear the worst for your country. This force is larger than we could have ever imagined. The fighting that has taken place here was not the same army that attacked us. I plan to raise an army and come back to destroy this evil. They have no right to be here. If this is going to be Judgment Day, then I want to go down fighting." He buried his face in his hands. "You should come with us to England, or at least Prussia or France." The general shrugged his shoulders. His look was blank and unresponsive. "Charles, can you come here, please?" Major Richmond called out. He stood on top of one of the steam engines, his binoculars out, and looked into the distance. The captain arrived at the engine and proceeded to climb up carefully. "Is everything all right, Harry?" "Not really, old boy. The smoke in the distance has died down a little, but what concerns me is the dust cloud movement. It reminds me of when we were near Unver." The captain took out his binoculars. His eyes hurriedly surveyed the landscape for movement. When they fell on the cloud, his heart dropped. "My God, I do believe they're coming."